Alright everyone, good morning. Today is Wednesday, July 31st at 06:34. Welcome into our final day of July. Anyway, today we have our day one outlook to look at here today. And yeah, we've got a pretty busy day here in severe weather world today. We got an enhanced risk, which is a 3 out of 5. This is for basically a little bit of Minnesota, a little bit of South Dakota, Nebraska, but mainly it's in Iowa. It's affected by this little enhanced risk that we have right here. We do have a slight risk going from Minnesota over into North Dakota, South Dakota, down into Nebraska, even in a little bit of Kansas there, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, a little bit of Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, a little bit of North Carolina, if you can see that there. Virginia and West Virginia, too, have that slight risk as well. Of course, we move on to the marginal, which means it will go basically from Minnesota through North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, over into Kansas, down in Oklahoma and Texas. And it will go over to Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, down into Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Indiana, Michigan, and then we got Wisconsin over here too, as well as under one. So we got a pretty busy day today. So let's see what cities we've got dealing with. So we got Omaha, Des Moines, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, and Council Bluffs under a enhanced. We have Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, Fayette, and Lincoln under a slight. And we got Chicago, Columbus, Charlotte, Milwaukee, and Nashville having a marginal. So let's see what we've got for today's tornado risk. So it looks like you start out with a 2%. So from Minnesota through a little bit of North Dakota, but mainly South Dakota and Iowa have that. Nebraska too, down into a little bit of Missouri, if you can see over here. Over into Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky, and a little bit of Ohio has this as well. So again, some populated cities would be Indianapolis, Omaha, Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington, Fayette. So you could see an EF0, maybe an EF1 if it becomes strong enough. Now it looks like this is basically going to be our main event today here. We got a hatched 30% here, mainly in Iowa. So this looks like it's going to be a pretty good damaging wind event here. But also a little bit of Minnesota, South Dakota, and a little bit of Nebraska also have that as well. So we do have that hatched 30% there. We've got this hatched slight here. That's for South Dakota, Minnesota, out into Nebraska, and even down into Kansas even. And of course Iowa. And we have got this main 15% area here for North Dakota a little bit, Minnesota, South Dakota, down in Nebraska, Kansas, over into Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, a little bit of Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, a little bit of North Carolina here. And then, of course, we got this 5% from Minnesota through both Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, over into Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, not just Nashville, but Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin having that 5%. So there is really a significant severe here, especially in that hatched 30% area. So places like Omaha, Lincoln, Des Moines, Sioux Falls, and Sioux City having a significant severe, and then Omaha, Des Moines, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, and Council Bluffs having the 30%. Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, Fayette, and Lincoln having the 15%, and Chicago, Columbus, Charlotte, Milwaukee, and Nashville having the 5%. I definitely would say 30%. You could see 60 to 85 mile per hour wind gusts. Maybe a storm could really be getting strong and maybe even producing 90 mile per hour wind gusts. Can't completely rule that out, but it could be possible. At 15%, you could see 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, or maybe 75. And then 5%, you could just see 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. So this thing's probably going to reset on me in any second. So anyway, today's hail risk, we've got a hatched area from Minnesota through South Dakota down through Nebraska here. And then we got this 15% area through Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska. And we got this 5% that, yep, there it goes, it reset. We got this 5% that goes from Minnesota through over into North and South Dakota, down into Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, Missouri, Illinois, and Wisconsin. So, as you can see, none of these areas over here have a 5% hail risk. So anyway, those cities basically being Grand Island, Aberdeen, Hastings, Columbus, and Watertown have a significant severe. Omaha, Lincoln, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, and St. Cloud having a 15%. And then Kansas City, Minneapolis, Wichita, St. Louis, and St. Paul having a 5%. So I definitely would say, especially in this hatched area here, you could see 1 to 3 inches, maybe even 4 inches in the hatched area. 15% you could see 1 to 3 inches of hail possible. 5% you could see only 1 to 2 inches, but you never know what the heck these storms could do, so they could do anything. Alright, here's today's summary from the Storm Prediction Center. Let's just see what they say really quick. Scattered thunderstorms with severe wind gusts are expected today into tonight from the central and northern plains southeastward into the Ohio Valley. Isolated large to very large hail will be possible for parts of the mid-Missouri Valley northward into the Dakota and Minnesota this evening. So, there you go. That's basically what the Storm Prediction Center's got for today. So there's today's hail risk. There's today's damaging wind risk, which is going to be the main event today. Today's tornado risk. We got overall day one outlook. So I really hope you stay weather aware, stay safe. Make sure you keep an eye on the sky. Make sure you know what county you live in, what area you're bordering. Should also know that